students out of the family that go to college. Does that work? Testing? Oh yeah, okay. What other questions do you guys have?
So if his brother just started college,
Yes.
he was the first year.
Yes.
He would be just.
He would be first gen. Yeah, the whole siblings, all of the generation. Yeah, so like me and my brother were technically first gen, yes. I was the first one to technically graduate, but still we're both first gen. What else? Other good questions from the students or the parents? And thanks for being here, by the way. I know it's a longer Sunday than usual, but we'll try to be here as quick as possible. I guess we'll get started if Nadia says we can go. Well, while we wait, there is a QR code. So if you haven't RSVP'd for the workshop, please RSVP because then I'll send you information after the workshop pertaining to publications. There's like 4 or 5 publications that we created for students. So it'll be part of that follow-up, and then any other things that we want to send out to students will be via email. So if you could please fill out the forms, we have your information, I can send out that email. But I'll get going here. Do we have the green light? Not yet.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure the audio is working. All right. Any summer plans that you guys did? Any fun plans? Yeah? You're ready for fall, for school? Who has not started school? Or why? Everyone started. Okay. So you're already going through the first week, all those assignments, all the expectations. Well, I hope that you take it easy on yourself, and after today you have a bit more of a peace of mind, because it's not going to be a marathon, really. You want to think of it as a continuous race, in a way. It never really ends until you graduate from college, maybe even go get your master's or doctorate. So it is a journey that you'll continue on, but it starts in high school and will maybe even sometimes middle school and goes all the way until you get your degree. Okay, I think we'll get started for the sake of time. But welcome to CEF's workshop. My name is Sandy Gabriel. I'm the Assistant Director of Counselor with CEF. CEF has been established for 24 years now, or we're celebrating 25 next year. Very excited for that. We do have many services. I know we talked about this. Okay, let me show you our services. This is me and Catherine. We are the counselors of CEF, and we go throughout the year different workshops, whether it's for middle school, high school. We focus a lot on scholarships too. So you probably are aware of our CEF scholarship, the Merit Achievement Scholarship, and then our graduate one as well for undergrad and grad. So in addition to our workshops and scholarships, we also do one-on-one counseling. If you need any support outside of the workshop, say, okay, Sandy, I attended the workshop, but I still have a lot of questions, or I need that one-on-one individual support, we do have those services, and I'll mention that at the end. But to give you an overview, what we're going over today is just to kind of help you understand the different pathways to college, especially nowadays there's so many options. So we'll touch base off of what is every option and what are the pros and cons. The college requirements, as you know, every year they're changing. We're constantly going to conferences and trying to make sure we have the most up-to-date information, meeting other admissions counselors or hearing other admissions counselors that talk about the data that's out there. And then, of course, financial aid and scholarships. So good things to look forward to. If you have any questions, you can feel free to just tell me now. I know it's being recorded as well. And yeah, we'll take questions at the end. But please feel free to answer any or ask any. Awesome. So we'll start off with the pathways of college. If you see, there's so many different ways to get ultimately to university. So the first one is high school. And then you have, from high school, you have two different options. You either graduate high school after 4 years, you're good, after a lot of great classes that you've taken, a lot of leadership that you've done, a lot of those activities. Or you say, no, I'll do high school for 2 years, and then I'll take something called the CPP exam or the high set now. Those are the two exams that you can take to finish high school early, and by sophomore year, you'll be done with technically high school and then go straight to a community college. So you see the route for CPP goes straight to community college, you're there for 2 years, and then you go straight to university. So the idea here is there's so many ways to get to university, but ultimately how you get to each, it varies. And once you make it to the university, there's so many types of universities. You have your public, you have your private, the Cal States, the Ivy Leagues, all that. Any questions on just this as far as like options? Okay, I know this might be something that's very basic information, but we wanted to make sure that we cater to freshmen all the way to seniors. So if you've heard this before, it's just going to be a reminder. But as you see here, we've kind of broke it down by year, what you should be focusing on as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. If you are not on this path or you haven't even touched base yet on some of these items, look back and see what I could do differently or what I can do more of. The first one, 9th grade, that's basic, meeting with the counselor. I would definitely recommend that, even us CEF or high school counselors, so they can help guide you on what classes to take every year. If you haven't developed a plan for your activities, figuring out what you want to be involved in, what you want to take leadership in, what type of impact do I want to make in the community. And then going into 10th grade, that's when you really focus on two things, your academics, but also your activities. You're starting to challenge yourself in leadership roles, like maybe become a president or a VP, but not just a member. We'll talk more about what does that look like for the college apps. Then going into junior and senior year, really honing in on your academics, college, which scholarships you're going to apply for, what campus tours you want to go on, especially because now it's more and more serious. It's not just a name. I'm going to the college to see what it looks like, what it feels like. When I went to Cal State Fullerton back then, UCI, Riverside, there was such a big difference between one campus to the other. And I was like, okay, I can naturally feel like I fit somewhere over the other. And that's just you feeling safe and you feel like there are other students that look like you. And that's a big key that goes back to the fit, and we'll talk more about that. And then yeah, senior year you're applying, as we know, starting August, all the applications are out, and that's when it gets pretty fast paced. So we were talking earlier about the exit exam. Any questions on that or the CHESP? It used to be called the CHESP, now it's a CPP, or now we have the high set. The biggest difference between both of those is the high set can be done online. You can take it online. It's English and math test. And then the CPP is very similar to that, but it's in person. Any questions on this route or someone who is interested in this route or this option? I can go a little bit more into it. There's pros and cons to it. Okay, that's good. I will say, just to summarize that route at least, for most of the students that go into college as a sophomore, because that's the age that they're permitted to take the test and then go on to college, it's a bit tricky when if they've never taken a college level class before, and as a sophomore, they're taking college level courses. What does that look like? Are they going to do well? Are they going to have a pretty high GPA? But keep in mind, they're not done with their activities. They're continuously working on their resume once they're a college student. So there's just things to think about when it comes to being a college or community college student, especially if they take this route. So if you don't have any questions, if no one's considering this route, yeah.
Like I heard about also dual enrollment. Is there like a big pro that this has other than that dual enrollment doesn't have?
Good question. So dual enrollment would only apply if you were still in high school, where you can count those college classes towards your high school transcript. Once now you leave the high school with that CHESP exam or the CPP, you're done with high school, you go straight into the community college. And then you become eventually as a transfer student, applying as a transfer student to a 4 year. So dual enrollment wouldn't make sense at that point. But good question. Okay, let's go back to types. So we talked about the options, what kind of colleges or universities that We know there's a big difference between public and private. How many of you are considering a private, or maybe a mixed public and private? What about Ivy Leagues? Do we know what Ivy Leagues are? The top 25 universities like Harvard, Cornell, Yale, Stanford, those are the top 25. If you look at the difference between public and private, there's a drastic and a discrepancy, and I would say a big difference in the cost when it comes to, like, let's say a school like USC. It's not Ivy League, it is private, it's in California, but their tuition is almost $75,000 a year, right? Compared to Chapman or LMU or Loma Linda, it could be around 45, 35, just depending on the school. If we're looking at examples of public and private, we talked about the Cal States. Can you name me maybe 2 or 3 Cal States and UCs?
Cal State San Bernardino.
Yep, Santa Bernardino. What else? What's Cal State?
Fullerton.
Fullerton, I went there. So I forgot to tell you my little journey, but I'll tell you later. Yes. UCLA, yes, that's in here in LA, okay. USC, that's private. UCI, that's Irvine, yep. UCR, Riverside. Cal State Long Beach. So you guys know your Cal States and UCs and then a little bit of privates. So to give you a little bit about me as far as where I went to Cal State Fullerton, majored in psychology and American Human Services, and then went to USC for my master's in educational counseling. So if you have any questions on those 2 schools, I've worked at many other schools as well. Occidental College, MSMU, Mount St. Mary's, of course, Cal State Fullerton. Right now I work at Pepperdine University, so if you have any questions there, I'm happy to assist you. Religious, speaking of Pepperdine, Pepperdine is a religious school. So some privates are Christian, like LMU, like Pepperdine, like MSMU. That's an all-girls school, they're Christian. And you'll see that more in the private sector that they're going to have that stance versus public. They don't really associate with religion. Then you have a couple of the other characteristics here is the size. The size, I will say, public and private, it varies. USC is fairly large. Cal State Fullerton is almost the same size. But then you go to UCLA and UCI, they're double, almost. So just think about the size of the school as well. And then when it comes to diversity, I'll just mention there is a representation of folks that look like us at certain schools. I will just say that. Okay. When it comes to actually getting accepted, here's a kind of a comparison also between the privates, Cal States, and UCs. We know off the bat that the UCs and the privates are very similar to what they require, especially their personal statements, their activities. With the Common App for the privates, they only take up to 10 activities, and that's the application to apply for privates. With the UCs, they give you up to 20 activities to put in the application, so you would have more and more chances to show how you're involved. With the UCs, their personal statements are about 4 paragraphs of 350 words, and they're about, you pick 4 prompts out of the 8 that they gave you to actually write. With your privates, you only pick 1 prompt out of the 6 or 7 that they gave you, and it's 650. So it's pretty simple. The biggest thing with the difference between their curriculum. So if you're deciding between what's a good fit, I know most of you are going to be applying to all of them, but if you're trying to figure out, okay, Sandy, well, this is what I'm expecting from my journey, what's the best fit as far as major and curriculum fit? You want to be honest with yourself as far as, just like how you selected your high school. When you were figuring out which high school you wanted attending, what mattered to you the most? Was it your friends? Was it the reputation they have to get into college? Was it the retention? Was it the curriculum, how rigorous it was? That's the same thing you're going to do in college. You don't want to pick a college that's not going to help you be that, excel academically and just continue to not do well. That's going to hinder your GPA. Same thing with where it's located. You don't want it to be where it's so far and you're not close to your family. You feel like there's like that homesickness. So you want to be a bit also real with yourself as to what college am I picking. I'll tell you off the bat, when I was selecting between USC and USD, University of San Diego. They were great schools, amazing campuses. One was Christian, one was not. One was in downtown LA, one was in the heart of San Diego. Completely different curriculum, but one was a bit, it was newer program, didn't have a reputation. USC, obviously, you know, it's the network is there, they have the faculty, so I knew that it was a guarantee to find a job somehow. So that's how I was thinking. When you think about these colleges, how do I fit in their campus? What can I bring to their campus to excel academically and be able to have some type of guarantee with a job that fits that major I'm picking? Any questions on the types of schools?
I have a question. What's the personal statement? What is that?
Oh, good question. So in the college applications, when they apply as a senior, they're going to ask them to write like essays or personal statements about themselves. That's why they're personal. For the UCs, they ask for 4 of them, and then the common app or the privates, they ask for 1. Yeah. It's a big part of the application. A lot of students get stressed out with that. But start journaling or start getting more and more comfortable with describing the things that you're doing, because then you're going to be able to do that effortlessly in the college application. Any other good questions? Okay. So here's a list of the Cal States by the map there. You'll see the closest one to all of you would probably be Cal State Pomona, right, and San Bernardino, and maybe Cal State LA a little bit of Fullerton, maybe, not really. I just passed Fullerton coming here, so it's not that close. But if you live on campus, you might. And then if you want to make it a little bit further out, San Diego is out there, is a really good school. I went to Cal State Fullerton right there. Long Beach and Fullerton are pretty close to one another, but we have about 23 Cal States. That's a pretty good number. And not all of them are impacted, meaning I can apply to 4 or 5 of these and probably get in, versus another 2 or 5 that are pretty impacted. And I will tell you, Fullerton, LA, San Diego, Long Beach, Northridge are all considered impacted campus, meaning all across the board, major and campus. What's impacted? I keep saying that. So the church, for example, we can only take, let's say, 500 families. If on a Sunday we get 1,000 of them, that's an impacted church now. It becomes an impacted church. We can only take 500. So the same thing with the college campus. The college campus can be impacted, but also a major can be impacted. Meaning a lot of people are applying for that major, we can only take, I don't know, 500. So just depending on the school and the size. UCs. So the closest one would probably be Riverside to all of you. There's UCLA, of course. You guys talked about Irvine earlier, and then you have San Diego. There's about 9 of them, or 10. With the top 3 so far, it's Berkeley, LA, of course, and then I would say between Davis and San Diego. Those are probably the top 3 right now. How to help you find your college list. I know it's a bit early for some of those who are not seniors, but if you're really just trying to figure out, okay, well, this is the major that I'm thinking of, what are some colleges I should seek? And remember to be strategic about the colleges too, because let's say I know in the next 3 years I want to go to USC, I want to apply to USC or UCI. Go to their on-campus programs and see what you could do as a high school student during the summertime. A lot of those schools, and one of the publications that we're working on is a list of all the programs that are happening on the college campuses and other outside parties that are giving you internships to get that research experience and college experience. So if you have seen, and I was just telling your student here, there's 2 programs that I know of at USC and UCI. If you do them during the summertime, it's a residential program where you live on campus, and you put that on the college application, it looks really good. So remember the strategic behind, okay, well, these are the top 10 schools that I have. Let me find some programs at their colleges that I could do. And then that will look good on your application. But to talk about this real quick, this is a website called College Scorecard. If you go on there and you put in, it's just going to give you a kind of a scale of things that you're looking for. If you want it to be a smaller school, your religious school, you want it to be a public school, You do all that, you kind of do like a filter, and then it gives you all the schools that they recommend. So it's called College Scorecard if you ever need that resource. So question to all of you since I've been talking for so much. What is the answer to this? I can't transfer to a university if I go to a community college first. True? False, right? We could all transfer to a university, and a good university to be exact, if we start at the community college as well. So we do have so many of them. As you know, they're pretty strategic as far as how accessible they are to the local community. So they have so many. I won't list them all, but I'm sure you guys know that the ones near you, at least. That's when you can start taking college level classes and transferring them to the high school as dual enrollment. I get a lot of the questions, oh, what classes should I take? Two things. Make sure that it helps towards your A through G classes. It gives you that extra credit or dual enrollment credit. And it somewhat aligns with your major choice. That's another thing too. I love to see students who do other things pertaining to just hobbies and skills they have, good. But then let's just show other consistency that leads up to your major as well. Any questions so far?
Are we supposed to say general education, like during the dual enrollment, or when we transfer?
When you're in high school?
No, like the fall.
Yes, so once you are at the community college, you're doing 2 years there, and it's all general ed, like you were saying, yeah. So what was the question?
Isn't it general ed?
Yeah.
We really choose what classes we take.
Oh yes, at the community college, you would technically still have a lot of freedom as far as what classes to take from the IGETC form. There's like different categories on there, it's like humanities, or the math, and the sciences, and then you get to pick what classes. Within that, there will be specific courses, right here actually, that you want to make sure that you take that can transfer into the Cal States and UCs, but that's it really. And the counselors do a pretty good job at that, the community college too, but if you need support, we're happy to help. So you look at the difference here, I know this is a bit far from where you're at now if you transfer over, but if you are one of those students that are finishing high school early, just know these are the two different lists for the Cal States and the UCs as far as what to hit, which category, what math and English. The biggest difference between the Cal States and the UCs is the Cal States require an additional English, and then the UCs just require that one English. So that's one thing to know about the community college. And then this is what you could use to help you track what can be transferred at the UCs or at the Cal States if you're at a community college. It's called assist.org. Okay. So for the California colleges, I will just mention if you are at a public school, this is a really good platform I would recommend. They just partner with the Cal States and the UCs to help you learn more about how to prepare for college, but most importantly, it adds all your activities, all your grades, and then with one link, a click away, you can transfer all that stuff in your college application. So please make sure you have the profile built, have access to it through your college or through your high school, and then you're able to create a profile there. I personally love it. I worked with it, and it helps students a lot when they're applying. Okay, so just to give you a brief overview of the A through G requirements, all of these are classes that are required in high school, as all of you probably know. The ones that I would want you to really look at is the recommended. All the ones that say recommended, definitely try to do that and above, and maybe an AP class or an honors class. Do we all know the difference between honors, AP, IB, dual enrollment? Okay. If you don't, I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about that. But for math, generally 4 years, especially if you're going to do anything in the STEM field or any type of medical field, please do 4 years, and ideally the last 3 years, the last 2 years, you're doing AP or honors. And I really appreciate to just see like an AP Bio, for example, and AP Physics, and then in the math, you can go up to AP Pre-Cal or AP Cal, and then AP Stats. Those are the subjects that they look for. I have seen Calc, BC, AB and BC, also good classes if you're good at the math. The language, yes, 3 to 4 years would be nice, especially if you're good at the language. Spanish, for example, is a good one. American Sign Language is out, I would say, getting more and more popular. If you feel like you're going to be in the medical field, that might be actually, or even a psychologist or some type of therapist, you might have that come handy later on. And then electives, as you know, it's 2 years. Be strategic about also electives because that will kind of translate back into your applications. Any questions on the classes? Anyone has concern about what classes to take? Any specific courses?
I'm not exactly sure what classes I want to take because I don't know what my major's going to be yet. I was thinking some like biology or something like that.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because it's good to where you're starting now. You said you were a sophomore? Freshman? Freshman, perfect, okay. So he mentioned, I don't know what classes to take because I don't know what my major is. That's a perfect scenario. The first thing to do is take a couple career assessments. Have you taken any? So there's a couple.
No, I did.
You have? Perfect. So Avid will help you with that. I know Avid is a college prep program. So what you'll do is you take that as just a starting point, see what you scored in the highest. I know they usually give you 2 or 3 acronyms. See the highest 2 letters, and based off of that, just kind of give yourself a personality. Okay, I have this personality. Here's some careers associated with this personality, and then you can start looking at majors. That's how I do it with all the students we work with. From there, we pick a college based off of the majors, and then we have our top 10 schools. So that's kind of how we find your schools, is by your major choice and then your career. All right. Here's the differences I was telling you about earlier between AP and IB, community colleges and dual enrollment. Pretty straightforward as far as the differences, but just know the IB and AB, I've looked into this recently. IB is really focused on, and some schools offer it. If you do excel in it and you want to take it, definitely do that. Most of it though, if you're like, let's say leaving out of state, or you're going to go to college out of state, or even internationally, then they would love to see the IB classes. Any questions on these 4 options? Okay. How many of you are considering private schools and Ivy Leagues again? Okay, great. So if you are considering those schools, they are bringing back the SAT and ACT as an exam that they're looking to see the scores. Sometimes for admission purposes and sometimes for scholarship purposes. Mainly for admission purposes now, at least for some of the privates. And we just have the differences for both as far as the scoring, how long, what subjects. If you are someone who's planning to take them, I would take both just to see how well you do on either because they're a little different. Especially if you're trying to be in the STEM field, definitely try to take the ACT because it has a science component. I've seen folks do better in the ACT over the SAT. I don't know why, even though it has a science component. So try our best to take both, and then if you want to take the score and take the exam again, you definitely can.
Sonia, I have a question, sorry.
Yeah.
ACT can be taken senior year or no?
Yeah. If you're reporting out on the senior application though, I would say the latest is the November date, right before the deadline. But even on the application itself, you're able to put the planned date that you're taking the exam, and then if the test results come later, you can just send it straight to the school. But ideally, that fall is the latest. Yeah.
One more question on that. Are colleges looking for SAT and ACT this year for 2025-26?
For the privates, some, yeah, not all privates.
Find out which ones?
I mean, we can see what colleges he's applying to and see if they're asking for it, but not a lot in California at least.
Can you repeat that question?
Oh, sure. The question was, which schools are going to require the SAT or ACT as an exam? Are the privates going to be asking for them? I said yes, you definitely can. We can look at to see what schools that you're applying for and then go from there. I will say majority of the privates right now, at least in California, are going to look for that score for the scholarship, like the merit-based scholarships from admissions, usually that. Otherwise, not for admission, not UCs or Cal States for sure. The privates a little bit. I know like USC is not, but they have it for scholarships. Like when I was helping a student last year, there was a few scholarships that said based off of your SAT score, so and so and so. So it just depends. Any other good questions? Okay. So what do they look for? I know we talked a little bit about your options, your pathways, the differences between Cal States, UCs, and privates. when you're actually applying, these are certain things that you're looking for. To give you honestly a summary, because this is early for all of you, if there's something you're passionate about, something that is new to the community, you're like, I want to really make this impact, I want to take this to the next level and create a bigger project. It's called a passion project. This is what we're looking at. I really wanted to emphasize that because we're seeing more and more students do great like become the president or maybe find a club, but there's more to it now. We have people that are publishing articles and books, and they're working with professors or faculty members on college campuses to do research and publish them. So we're talking about big picture here, a little more of that impact and leadership. And of course that passion that comes with it. But remember all of these different factors. Academic part, obviously they look for your APs and honors, and your GPA, they look at the weighted, specifically 10 through 12. When it comes to your personal activities, the biggest one out of this list is the location, where you're located. Most of the, let's say, here Riverside, I would say is the closest one, UCR, is Riverside. So then UCR would have a pipeline dedicated to the local schools from the high schools, and the top 10% of the students that are like at the top 10% from the high schools are usually guaranteed admission there, but they have to be at the top 10%. When I went to Woodbridge High School in Irvine, same thing. Cal State Fullerton was their pipeline school, but you had to be eligible for their minimum requirements. And the rest of it really based off of who they can take and their admission rates. Then we have your other factors like your activities, what do your leadership roles look like, have you taken advantage of what's being actually offered to you at your high school. And yeah, so the biggest thing is making sure that you stand out from your own community, your high school folks. So you're going to be competing with folks from your own high school and not from another high school. So those of you who are seniors in the house today, both of you are competing with one another from that same high school if you're going to the same high school. Okay. If you haven't seen this yet, definitely go on your school's profile or your website and put in their school, just put school profile. It's usually under about or under academics sometimes. It'll just say student profile. Go on there, and that will ultimately give you where you stand within your high school. For example, if you're like, I don't know how many AP classes to take, or I don't know the percentage of those who go to colleges from my high school, or I would love to know the average GPA at my high school. All of those are on the school profile. And then you get to decide like where you stand amongst all of that and take advantage of the resources offered. So when I ask how many AP classes are being offered at your school, that's because I want to know how many actual schools have you taken outside of those courses. So if the school is offering 25 and they have a lot of opportunities for you to take AP, I would hope that you're doing at least 5 to 10 AP classes. That's kind of how they would translate. And that is to tell you to have like a peace of mind going to the application process to get to that level. All right, activities. How many of you are involved heavily now, or at least involved somehow? And give me some examples. What are y'all doing?
School, basketball.
Basketball. You've been playing for all 4 years?
I played for only like 2 years.
Okay, good. Any other sports?
I'm doing cross-country track.
Nice, okay. Cross-country track. AVID, is it AVID, right? Okay, nice. AVID is a college prep program that you do that helps you through all this, pretty much what I'm doing, but at the high school. Anything else? Any other activities? Okay, well, definitely start thinking of the activities if you haven't. I know Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts is something that I've seen consistently. Try to really take a step forward there, challenge yourself, be more innovative when it comes to that. Yes?
Should I join like clubs this year?
Definitely joining clubs, yes.
And should I try to work on being a president?
So, yes and no. I don't want you just to join something just to have it on paper. I think we wanted to see more passion behind it as far as, is there a club that you really relate to on a personal level? Okay, great, join it. But if there's something that you can actually create of your own, have your own club, that even might be a better way of thinking about it. Another way to show them that you're excelling and you're a great applicant is to start working with other folks in the same community. So if you know, let's say there's a Coptic club at your high school, right? But there's another 4 or 5 Coptic clubs in the community or in the area because of there's so many high schools. Why don't you all collaborate with one another and do a big event, a fundraising event, and then take the money that you built, the profit, and fundraise that internationally somewhere. That's just an example I always get. But it's something that we're talking about big picture, meaning I've collaborated with many individuals. I've taken the leadership, and out of I don't know, 4 or 5 churches that were part of it, I was able to, let's say, raise $10,000 or more, and then that $10,000 translated into helping 10 families or more in Egypt, for example. So you see how there's a bigger impact internationally, but there's also an impact within your own community. So that's what I'm trying to say when it comes to a passion project. So if you look at these levels, there's excellent, which is number 1, 2 impressive, 3 fair or good, and then 4 is the basic involvement. If you take a look at each of one of these, the very first row, innovation there, and the one on the bottom, where do you see a difference? You see excellent, published a book, then impressive, they created a new club. Number 3, fair, they started a project for a club. And then number 4, which is just the basic involvement, I joined the club. So you see how there's different levels, and that is where, when they're reviewing your college apps, and they have a rubric for your activities, they want to see, are you in the 1, mainly between 1 and 2, or usually 3 and 4? That's the biggest difference between a UCLA applicant who got accepted and someone that's going to a less impacted school, maybe UCI or even Riverside or San Marcos, for example. That's the difference between those 2 types of students. So just know that there's levels to involvement on campus. When I asked you earlier about what are you involved in, these are some examples that you can be involved in. You can start your own business, you can have an educational platform through YouTube, for example, you can start a website, you can even start like a spiritual Bible study of some sort with students, and what you name it. It's all about, okay, do I have a mission? Is there a vision? And then most importantly, is it serving a purpose? That's what we're trying to get at. So these are all great examples for all of you. Any of you are thinking of any of these? Yeah? Especially during the summer times, even during the year as well. So this was just another example of how it can be an involvement, but then it becomes very impactful. So again, I can participate in something great, but I also want to have an impact when it comes to the purpose of the organization. So we have a CEF. We have this, and actually the next slide has the QR code. But if you did RSVP for today's workshop, you will get this as an example or a sample for you to help fill out all your activities. And when we do our counseling, one-on-one counseling, this is part of their college organizer. So in the next slide, if you wanted to, again, get this QR code scanned, it will give you that tracker and it can help track all your info. Because once you apply as a senior, all the stuff that you're doing, you're going to forget. You're like, oh, I forgot I did as a freshman or as a middle schooler. So have it all now, and it's going to be broken down by the year that you did it, how many hours a week, how many weeks a year, and then of course a description of what you actually did. So just to recap the timeline, and this is for the UCs, but will usually apply for the Cal States and the privates too. And this does not include early action and early decision. If any of you are thinking about early action and early decision, it's a bit earlier than November 30th. But August 1st, all apps are open, as you all know, so all our seniors are working very hard to start their apps, to just fill it all in. Then you have their submission. They submit it by the 30th of November, but if they are doing early action, it's going to be November 1st. And then the end of the fall, going into January, that's when they would submit their grades from fall, all their transcripts, because when they're applying, they don't have their grades. They just put in, oh, I'm planned, or it's in progress. But once they actually finish the grade resumes, a bit of transcripts then. Then the college will let them know about their admission sometime in spring between March and April. And the student will have to sign saying, yes, I want to attend, or no, I'm not going to attend by June 1st. And we have seen waitlist notifications. So those who did not get accepted but got waitlisted, they also get notified by that time if they got accepted or not. I have students that are still waiting to hear back from certain schools that they got accepted. So know that waitlist means they want you, you're eligible, but we just don't have space for you. So it's not a bad thing. Any questions on this timeline or just any of the things that I mentioned with the UCs? So just remember when you're looking for a school, the size matters, the major choice, what they offer at their school, the activities that they offer, especially their network. When I was mentioning earlier, that's why I picked USC because of their network. Their activities that they offer, and of course the location. How far is it from where you live? Is it going to be feasible to commute back and forth? Are you going to live on campus? That's another budget. Is it going to require a whole flight back home? What does that look like? Just think about all those realistic things and talk to mom and dad about it. I think that's going to be the most important part, is to have an honest conversation with the parents, because sometimes you'd be surprised when we're in the middle of saying yes or no to schools when they've already had applied. All these new conversations come up and it's like, wait, I thought we were all on the same page. So making sure that you know if housing is on the table. If it's not, then why are you going to apply there, right? Okay. I talked about this in the beginning about first gen. Do we all know what first gen means now? So pretty much, just to recap, if the mom and dad of the family did not attend college in the US, they did not get a degree from the US, then the kids, the students of all ages are considered first gen. So me, let's say my brother, were first gen. And that gives them an added benefit to the College Act, especially with the FAFSA application with financial aid. As a first gen student, you get a lot more support financially, and there's a lot more scholarships available to you as a first gen. We talked about this as well. We do have our 2 scholarships. I know someone had asked about scholarships earlier. I'm not going to go into much detail with scholarships, but I will say you should start looking for scholarships by your junior year, even the first term of junior year. That would, I would say, be a good place to start. So you should need to see which scholarships are available, what's the deadline, what prompts are required, and then some of them will be due as early as August, some are due closer to December, just depending on the scholarship. But we have 2 of our own. CEF has one for those that are going from high school to college, or those are going from community college to a 4-year as well that are transferring. We just went through the rounds this past summer. We have up to about 15 students that received it, and then we have a graduate one as well for about 2,500 for those who are pursuing grad school. Pretty much, we select the top 20 folks that are in the diocese. It's a very, very competitive process. We do look for leadership, academic performance, letters of rec, definitely a resume, a list of activities. So it's very similar to the college applications. We mirror that just so you can feel what it feels like to have an application of that nature. But yeah, it's due every May or so.
Does that include dual enrollment? Like if you take dual enrollment in high school and you go straight, like after you finish high school, you go to university?
So once you're done with high school, like 4 years, or you're doing the 2-year 4 years, then yeah, you would apply for this for the undergraduate. Yeah. And then the other one on the right, that's EEF. That is the Egyptian. Keep forgetting the name of it. But it's another scholarship for those who are applying to any of these schools. And it's a full ride, meaning they're going to pay for all their tuition if they do get accepted to that school, and of course they get accepted by the scholarship. So any of those schools, Chicago, Stanford, Harvard, UPenn, MIT, are the ones they would support and sponsor. All right, I think we're almost done here. This is my contact info with myself and Catherine. So we do offer the one-on-one counseling support. I'll pause here first just to show you our contact, but in the next slide, we have our one-on-one counseling support. So if you say, okay, this was helpful, Sandy, but I want to meet with you one-on-one, just kind of go over a solid plan to graduate and of course to apply, we do have those services. Let me bring that up, here it is. So this is an extensive list of what we do, but pretty much I would meet with you for the first time for free, the next time for free, and then the following few times, if we're doing a continuous meetup every like 2 weeks, every month, then it becomes $150 a session, which is $150 an hour. And anything that's included, meaning offline support, I'm doing some research for you, or reviewing a personal statement, or finding an internship, that's included in the price. So know that we offer that as support. Back to this, if those of you who are seniors this year, we are doing a virtual workshop. It's one of our newer workshops just because we wanted to focus on some specific senior important updates. So please scan that QR code to help you guys get the Zoom and to register for that one. And we'll keep doing those, of course, every year. Everyone got that one? Any questions I can answer for today? I know I spoke for a bit. And then here is our, so remember the publications I was mentioning at the end, or at the beginning? These are some of the publications you'll be getting via email. One of them will have a list of all the schools in California. We created a 25-page booklet that has all this information in an actual booklet. And then you'll find this very helpful, the top institutions and majors. So it has the majors the schools by the majors. So it has the Cal States that are known for this major, the UCs that are known for this major, and then of course some of the privates as well. And that QR code is just for us. If you would love to give us some feedback on today, this would be the QR code for an evaluation. And that's all I have. Oh, and then these are some social media websites. If you are interested, we have our Instagram, LinkedIn, I believe a YouTube channel, and Facebook. But we're very, very engaged on Instagram if you're on there already. And we have an app. I forgot about that. We have the Coptic Educational app, which has everything on the website pretty much. Any questions? And thanks for having us, by the way. CEF is always, this is our first workshop of the fall season, so Tony Deli was on top of it. And yeah, we're here for you every year. We'll be coming back in the springtime for middle school students, so if you have siblings, definitely have them come during that time.